Okay then, so welcome to the Community Plan Committee for November the 14th. First of all, before I go through the agenda, I would like to thank Jackie and Leanne for the work they put in over Remembrance Week, especially the do on Thursday as well as the Remembrance Sunday on Armistice on Friday and Remembrance on Sunday.
Thank you very much appreciated.
There's a slight variation that's going to be running in the agenda because we need to bring Joe's presentation about item 8 forward, and that will be in that's somewhere around item 5, which is after public participation. So to receive apologies is item number 1 on the agenda.
I haven't received any apologies.
Chair.
Oh yeah, the chair listens today, but today I haven't received anything. But you think? Yeah.
Sorry, I received that apology. Sorry, look,
It's all right, no problem.
Item number 2 on the agenda is to note the declaration of members' interest.
Men in Sheds, Dennis. So Dennis, Men in Sheds.
Also the stroke survivors.
Oh, okay. Stroke survivors. Anyone else?
Councillor Rhodes.
I think it's that Connections, St Andrews.
Connections.
And my own is Nantwich Road Action Group. Hazel.
Also Connections, that's the addicts, recovery, yes, I support those.
Thank you.
Any others? I'm going to add them to this.
Mine's up. Joe's different.
And item number 3, to confirm and sign the minutes of the Community Plan Committee meeting held on the 12th of September 2022. Is it a fair representation of what went on that page? So Dennis is moving and Nan's seconded. Is all in favour?
At the bottom of every page, please. So,
Got nothing.
No.
there and here. And also at the bottom here, just so we can't add anything.
Items complete. Item number 4 is public participation, a period of not exceeding 15 minutes for members of the public to ask questions or submit comments. Have we had anybody from the public?
No, nothing. Here's one from Joe.
So this is where I would like to bring Joe Cosby, employee of Cheshire East Council, in to present an item which is also what we will be considering on the unelected budget of item 8 in the agenda.
Just get my beautiful assistants out.
That'll do. They're not available today, are they?
Okay, hello everybody. So most of you know me, but just for those who don't know, I work for Cheshire East as a community development officer. So supporting lots of the community groups, very similar role to Jackie, but for Cheshire East. I've been asked to come and just talk briefly about the One Places scheme that we've got established across the board now. So the background to what we've been trying to do is we're very aware that lots of people, particularly families with young children and the elderly, we're going to be struggling to keep their homes this winter. We're trying to offer some support around that. And so the idea is that we're working with community centres right across the board to offer hot drinks, hot food, social activities. try and get people to be able to join somewhere where they can get some social support, get a hot meal, and keep warm for a few hours. We're also working with private businesses through their social value and corporate social responsibility commitments, so that places, hopefully, like private cafes, will sign up to this scheme as well, in a non-judgmental way, where basically people can go and get warm without facing difficult questions, without the questions of having to buy something as well. So the first part of this is our connected community centres and our venues. So across the borough we have a social franchise of 34 connected community centres and venues. Centres generally tend to be your larger organisations, so places like YMCA Crewe or a centre, and St Andrew's Church in Crewe is a centre as well. Some of our venues there include the Motherwell Community Hub and the Sherborne Bungalows. We have £1,000 available for centres, which will support with food provision, so hot food, and we're talking things like bacon butties, soup and a roll, that kind of food, and £250 available for venues who have been providing hot drinks, so things like if you've had a bingo night or something like that, so we're able to provide tea, coffee, hot chocolates, and some biscuits at the end as well, just to allow them to open up for another hour or two, let people have a chat, let people have a hot drink before they go home. That offer's now been opened up to everybody else as well, so it's kind of a first come first served with the social franchise, and now all different organisations and non-profit organisations with a community building in Cheshire East now able to apply. Because of the need to separate funding, each area has a slightly different allocation. So in Crewe there was about £3,250 available through this, but I'll talk just a little bit more about budgets in a minute. The second part was the private businesses. We have created what we call a Warm Places Charter. So as you've seen probably in the news, lots of national schemes are running around warm hubs, warm spaces, that kind of thing. For Cheshire East, it's called Warm Places. And again, the 5 commitments there are what we're asking people to sign up for. So this is open for absolutely anybody with a community building. It can be Starbucks if they wanted to sign up, it can be the railway station, coffee shop, it can be absolutely anybody that can open up some sort of place where people can go, keep warm, perhaps charge their phone, do some work without facing any sort of judgment for, or difficult questions about why it is that they're there. We've also got some other cost of living support, so we have an emergency phone line. That number is available 5 days a week from 8:30 until 5 o'clock. And on that phone line, you get lots of energy saving tips and signposts to different organisations. They'll talk to you about your financial circumstances and perhaps refer you onwards to some of the other support that's listed below. The emergency assistance scheme is for people who have, is what it says on the tin, people that have sudden emergency. Perhaps they have children and don't have a washing machine all of a sudden, or the fridge freezer is broken and they can't afford to purchase a new one. That scheme can provide vouchers and other non-monetary payments, so things such as fridge freezers through the St Paul's Centre can be referred, they can get that for free. We have the Household Support Fund, which is a series of vouchers which is predominantly aimed at people on pension and people with children at school. We can also make additional referrals for that, and there's a variety of support. We have food vouchers for supermarkets, we have money off energy bills, and we also have referrals in certain circumstances to replace boilers and get help with heating costs. We have free SIM cards and data from the libraries. Again, that's available for anybody who may be struggling to afford internet or their own SIM card, and they can go and access this. We also have a variety of different commissioned offers around home heating advice. Again, people can come out and it's things like energy saving light bulbs, foil behind your radiators, doors, draft excluders, all that kind of thing. So we've got quite a wide range of support available now. Specifically for the Warm Places, as I know it's an item that's going to be discussed later, we've allocated £3,250 for the Crewe Care community area. Now that doesn't just cover the Crewe town parish area, that covers some of the surrounding villages as well, such as Worcester, Shacton and Leighton. We've aimed this scheme at trying to balance needs of more urban areas that have got more needs, but also focusing on areas in the rural communities where there are more houses that are off grid and may be facing additional pressures this winter. The budget allocation works out as 2 hot food provision and 5 hot drink provision. for crew. And we've also got the Warm Places Charter as well. So the groups that we've funded so far in crew, we have St Andrew's Church. Now they're going to be providing free device charging, an ESOL class, and extended Saturday cafe opening hours. Limesgate crew, again, their Glow Cafe on Gresty Road, they'll be providing 23 meals per week for targeted families. Sharrington Village Hall, which obviously falls outside of crew, but it's within the crew care community area. They are running a series of social afternoons in January with about 80 places available at each. There'll be hot drinks and games and such available. St Peter's Church on Earl Street. They have device charging, they're including the soup lunch afterwards, which actually falls into the drinks rather than the food funding that we have available. Again, more lunch clubs and board games and such, as well as some winter items to take home. The Sherborne Bungalow, the YMCA, again, they run Tuesday evening chill and chat sessions and the provision of hot drinks at these for the local residents. And then we're also just in discussions at the moment with two other groups, one in Crewe Central and one in St Barnabas, around hot drinks provision as well. What I've done, because I know that it's consideration, there's been some questions when I've spoken to Jackie. This is the map of the different groups that we've funded so far. Oh, sorry, I've just forgot to mention Motherwell Community Club have been funded in Worcester. These are the groups that we've funded so far. So the two purple organisations at the bottom, the two food offers that we provided, and the red icons are the hot drinks offers that we. No, sorry. I've got myself completely mixed up. We've not funded Motherwell over 5 years. I'm so sorry. I've got completely confused there. The purple icons are the ones that we funded for food, and the yellow icons are the ones that we are talking to about funding for drinks. There's also a yellow icon off the bottom, that's Sharrington. So I know there was a question mark just around which funds we've allocated already for the crew area to help make an informed decision. The red allocation is where you are, as you can see. None of them, apart from St Peter's, are close to or replicating anything that the Cheshire East have also funded. For the St Peter's application, we are funding a drinks only service. I know that they have put in through a food application to Crewe Town Council, so that would be very much a different thing than what we ourselves have. That's it. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to try and answer.
Yes, Councillor Harris. Yeah, it's a question.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Crosby, that was very informative. First question, if I was a, should I say, targeted family, I would feel quite worried about putting myself in that bracket. I wouldn't like to put myself forward to let my friends and neighbours know that I am a targeted family. I don't like that bracket really, and I hope we can go away from that. I know it's not yourself that's doing that.
Just trying to lay that concern, then all of our communications that have gone out, and nothing mentions deprivation, nothing mentions poverty.
It does mention targeted on the YMCA.
On the YMCA for our purposes, not for any of their publicity purposes.
No, I've seen the flyer and it does actually say targeted. That's what it's saying.
I'd be very interested to know where that is then, because it shouldn't be.
I would tell.
Yes, nothing should be. It is very much a case of, can you see yourselves in these circumstances? We're avoiding all that sort of the stigma and the negative language. It's for anybody, absolutely anybody that needs that support and can access it.
Yeah. The other question is, well, it's a statement really, because I know a lot of people who probably would value getting out, getting to meet other people, more out of getting away from the isolation that they feel, as well as getting out of the view of poverty. So something to do at those places. And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind paying £1.50 for a coffee if they could stay there for 3 or 4 hours and maybe have that refilled.
Yeah, so again, the purpose of this was, if you're sat at home and struggling to turn your heating on, you're probably going to be experiencing other issues as well, things like social isolation and food poverty as well. So the intent is that actually there's a way for people to have light at the end of the tunnel. You're not having to leave a cold home in even colder weather, perhaps at night in the rain, to get to somewhere where there's just nothing available. Actually, there's hot food, there's warmth, there's a warm welcome, there's some sort of social activity, there's wraparound support, and we're in discussions with lots of different partners around what that looks like. So there's definitely signposts and support into other support services, but actually there'll be things like activities to take home. There'll be things like hot water bottles at certain locations where you can take them home if you need. It's not intended to just be go there for a couple of hours, get warm, go back home and get cold again. It is intended to be sort of more sustainable than that.
And of course, the library are doing an awful lot, and they're doing activities and hopefully hot drinks as well. The other thing is people actually getting there, because I know some schools do a free Sunday lunch every other weekend. There's no buses. So the only people can get there are the people who can drive, and it's for over 60s, so I would qualify. I would love to go, but I'd have to walk there. So it's going to be difficult for some, and I'm not going to publicise that because I know they're fully booked and it is taken up. It's a great scheme, but yeah, we need to make sure that people can get there.
Yeah, again, it's an issue that we're experiencing right across the board with bus travel and things. What we're trying to do is encourage that those groups who do have staff or volunteer capacity and are able to help provide transport to their schemes, that they do offer that. We're also in talks with a couple of organisations specifically around hospital discharge work and how we can get people to health appointments and things. So it's an ongoing thing. There's no easy answer to it though.
Thank you.
Right, thanks, Councillor Harris. Councillor Clark.
Brilliant scheme, but as far as I'm aware, the grant is only funding the additional cost for food and hot drinks provision. My concern is we've done due diligence to make sure these organisations can afford the additional cost for their energy costs, because that's going to add to their sort of energy costs, being staying open longer, making more, putting the kettle on more, putting the ovens on more. So are we confident that they can actually pay their purse?
Yeah, so the scheme that we've run, what we've asked for is a breakdown of the costs. So for example, £1,000 over 12 weeks, we get that it's not a lot of money, but actually if it's £90 a week, they have broken it down then into 20 meals at £3 a head, plus £30 to cover the gas and electric charges and such.
Yeah. The way it reads on the website and everything you apply for, it doesn't read that you're actually, those organisations are actually getting additional funding towards their energy costs.
Yeah, so it's all part of the same.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Councillor Rose.
What the Body Crew compares to other areas?
Yeah, the only area in terms of care community that has more than Crew is Smash Care Community, and the reason for that is because it's spread across multiple towns. So we have Allsages, Sandbach, Middlewich, Scholar Green and Haslington within the Smash Care Community. So because of a wider geographical spread, they have 8 places in total rather than Crew, which has 7. Maxfield also has 7. The rest of the care community, we've got 5 or 6 allocations.
Okay. So allocations or allocated?
Allocations.
Yeah.
The
So they have-
allocated.
Because I noticed on the website there's a lot of areas. which
Yeah.
have
So in
people
Crew we are now fully subscribed to the One Places scheme.
Yeah.
In Smash though, for example, we have lots of
and it has
availability
been
still.
not doing anything.
No, yeah, I say we're trying to encourage organisations to apply, and I say the application form is very, very straightforward. It's a 1-page A4. I think there's also an online link that you can fill out. It is quite responsive. We're trying to get decisions turned around and grants paid out within 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any more questions?
Member agrees.
Clark.
Could I ask for your insight of how you see what you're doing at Cheshire East links in with our item, I think it's 8 on the agenda, please?
I think trying to link the two is really, really important, because it is that thing at the moment that the system of support for these sorts of schemes is very, very fragmented. What we can do in terms of the schemes that you're linking with, and I'll have further conversations with Jackie if it's approved, is around getting some of the support that we're providing into the sort of the locations that you guys might be funding as well. So again, we've got posters, we've got written materials around what support's available. So actually, it's not just for the place that we're funding. It can be, we can sign these other organisations up to the one place to charge, so that support is mapped, and then we can also get things like the cost of living leaflets into those places. We're working with other partners like Active Cheshire to actually run some additional health and wellbeing sessions. What we can do is ask them to deliver from these venues as well as our own.
So would you consider, not wishing to load the question, but some added value that this is a
Yes, the funding that we have is extremely restricted. We know that we are going to struggle to fund groups just to meet their basic costs. Everything that we're funding is sustainable until the end of February. After that point, groups don't have any funding to keep things going, but also the offer is very, very low. If you look at other areas and other councils in England, we are somewhere in the middle in terms of the funding that we provided. Some councils, Cheshire West for example, haven't provided any funding for their Warm Places scheme, but other areas have provided 3 or 4 times as much as we have. There is certainly added value, and there are lots of ways that we can link the 2 schemes together to ensure that the benefits of both are shared with different cohorts of people.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Clark. That gives members a good idea of what's going to be on the agenda later on. Thanks, Joe, again. Have a safe journey.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a safe journey.
Thanks so much, Joe. Much appreciated.
So we move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the members' item. Idling funding requests from Councillor Y, and he's done a bit more research from the last meeting and attached all the relevant information which we were asking for before. Ben, would you want to carry on presenting?
Oh, yeah, firstly, I apologise for my visitor. His nursery closed down 5 days' notice last week, so we had to go things. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this air pollution item is kids like him. Just going straight up. Particularly vulnerable. So children who are lower to the ground going to school are particularly vulnerable to vehicle emissions. In Cheshire East, vehicle emissions account for 40% of our own pollutants, 24% nationally, and it's everything about it that is damaging to our children. So I've sent you about 8 pages of evidence what other councils have done. Cheshire East at the moment are just processing their feedback consultation. Or what the population here think about it. But it's very easy, because it's invisible, nobody really thinks about it. Oh, well, electric cars will solve all of that. But in Crewe, there isn't that many electric cars. So it is a pressing problem, and an invisible one. I think it's up to us to lead the way and not wait for Cheshire East to come up with their consultation. The options that have been suggested are public awareness at this stage, because out of all the evidence that says, what can we do about it, to be honest, there wasn't anything that stood out apart from getting the children out onto the pavement and telling the drivers to turn their engine off. That resulted in 85% compliance. And I know they've done that at a couple of Crewe schools, and it has been very effective. Councils can, Cheshire East could, fine engine idlers. It's a £20 fixed penalty notice, but they're doing a cost benefit analysis about whether that's worth it. Now, I balk at the idea of having a cost benefit analysis about children's lungs, but that's beside the point. So the option that we're suggesting is just to put up signs around schools and start that conversation, because I think there's always going to be a small percentage of people who will not switch their engine off. There was a member of staff was assaulted outside a secondary school for asking a parent not to park on the zigzag lines. So we're not gonna solve it for everybody, but if we can get a critical mass of drivers just to switch their engine off, it will make a qualitative difference to not air quality in Crewe as a whole, but certainly outside the schools where our most vulnerable citizens have it. As an aside, up until lockdown, we had 3 air quality management areas in Crewe. And during lockdown, amazingly, the air quality got really, really good and they've all been deleted. But of course now, air quality nationally is about 10% worse than it was before lockdown. And I assume the same thing's going to be true here, but it's going to take us ages to catch up and put those quality management areas back in. So the options are to either have big posters tied to the railings, which is a slightly cheaper option, or to get the rangers to put signs on lampposts outside schools.
If members turn to page 42, you'll be able
Thank
to
you.
see the options that I've detailed for you.
So they're costed out there, but in a nutshell, not every school has got railings that will give themselves to this project. The lamppost, we could do it instantly without any negotiation at all. And also they're nearer to where the cars are parked, you don't have to have them directly outside the school. In fact, I wouldn't, directly outside the school isn't the best place, because that's where the zigzag lines are. And the drivers that are idling their engines aren't walking into let the kids see them.
I did chat to the printers as well about it, just to find out how long these things last, because obviously it's quite a big expenditure. And their advice was definitely to go for the higher up, they're not posters, they're weatherproof. What's the name of the material, Pete? I always forget, it was meant to be, what's the name of
I
the?
don't know if it's Fomex, Corex or
Fomex, yeah, so they say that it should last an average of about 4 years, that's average. They advised against the banners, because they said they're tied to railings, therefore they're subject to vandalism, people can rip them off, they can fall on the floor, they get blown away in the wind. So even though it was a cheaper option, it seemed to me, I spoke to 3 different printers, and it seemed to me that all of them advised the same thing. It's force economy, really. I explained what it was for, to go for the railings. Also, not all schools have railings where there's lampposts everywhere. So it seemed to me, when I spoke to Ben, that the option for the 50A1 weatherproof signs was 2,275. It's the proper straps for the lampposts as well. It's not just little plastic cable ties, they're fixed securely to lampposts. And our rangers would be asked to put them up.
Just one thing then, thinking about my grandson's school, I think you may have to have one of those notices in several different languages.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a
Which you
good
could do, of course, with the lamppost signs.
Yes.
Yeah, it's another idea.
Which schools? Primary, secondaries, everyone?
Everyone, yeah, because it's a strange thing that in Crewe, I know this from previous experience, certainly up to 5 years ago, about 95% of children who went to Crewe schools lived within 2 miles of the school. So whichever school you put it out, it's likely that another driver to another school is going to pass it anyway. So you get that double hit really, and of course it's a change of public education, but public encouragement, it's civic duty.
Because I'm just thinking of a primary school I live nearby, where there isn't, like most schools I'm sure, designated waiting and parking area. They use a rather long avenue.
Yeah.
And lots of residents complain about the parking situation already. I just think about the visibility of these signs and just how strategic that location and placements have to be.
I think we all live near a different school, so I would definitely take advice about which lamppost to put them on. I think we should do that, because we know our own patches best. And the other thing is, because the other issue, big issue of course, is parking on the corners that the police are very exercised about. I'll take your advice, but is it? I think maybe a single message is best, because I would say park properly, turn the engine on, read the book to your children, and then there's all sorts of things that I would put on the sign. But is it best to have a single message, or a simple phrase, I forgot what we came up with, Jack, it was like,
Yeah, I sent, yeah, there was a list of phrases, wasn't there? I'm sorry, I haven't got it
Yeah.
on me right now. We had lots of different ideas.
Yeah.
But obviously the way to get that price was to have 50 signposts all the same. We couldn't have, say, 25 and half languages and stuff. It would, and so I asked for a quote of 50, not with a fair split across the primary schools in mind, just really to see what needed to go where. And obviously we can order more in future years or less indeed, but 50 seem to be perhaps 3 for a school, so.
Okay, councillor Dennis.
How drastic are these signs gonna be? Because if you put them up and saying, please turn your engine off, no one will take any notice. If you put a sign up with I know it's really drastic, don't have a go at me, but if you put a sign up with a picture of a dead child and say, this could be your kid, it might have something going through.
there's a really powerful video that there's a website called Switch Your Engine Off or something like that, and it's got a massive great big see-through balloon attached to the back of the car, and the engine's idling for 30 seconds and the balloon fills up bigger than the car. It gives you that. Yeah, I think an image is really powerful, and I'll take advice on what that would look like. There's plenty out there, but I haven't seen any that really jump out. That's a good point. And then that would get around the languages as well.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah. This could be your child.
The best one is like just a tailpipe of a car with a big red sign through it, and the smoke coming out. In fact, that it could be as simple as out of nowhere.
There were some quite good slogans that when we sat down, we came up with. They were quite poignant, weren't
Yeah.
they? So the design hasn't been finalised. It was just really the costings that I was presenting. And obviously, if approved, then we can, Ben and I will sit down together and go through exactly what we want on the posters.
If I may, Chair, I think it's a great idea. If we can get it drastic enough so it scares the bloody life out of people who are sitting there and we turn around and say this could be your child, then they might think about it.
Any more questions for Ben? Jill, councillor Rhodes.
Can I just say that, have we got permission from Highways to put them on the lamppost?
So, Mr. Clark.
No
question.
I wouldn't seek it.
Would there be a problem with that?
About doing that.
I wouldn't seek it.
The lampposts are Highways property.
No, I'm just saying, Jill, would there be a problem?
I wouldn't like to guess.
No?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so councillor Faris.
I did have an issue, where somebody put 30 stickers, 30-mile-an-hour stickers along Conwood Road. I don't know who did it. It wasn't
Is it 20 mile an hour?
No, 30, it was several years ago, and I said, I actually told Treasuries that those signs had been put there because residents were so fed up that there weren't big signs, and I was told, oh, they will have to come off because they are not legal.
Ben.
So, yeah, the reason for that is because they were a round thing, and it was the I love 20 mile an hour stickers are in a heart shape, which gets around that thing that's in. I would like it to be 20, but it's not.
Yeah, I've got those myself. Our members of this committee, in the thinking that they might back one of these two options. As like, we need a sort of proposer.
I'll propose that we do.
You propose it, and Martin second.
Which option are we talking about, just for the minutes, so I can be clear?
My own personal view is the weatherproof signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, so option 2.
yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, is that all in
So-
favour? Who's in favour?
Okay, so the weatherproof. Okay. Yeah, signs, I've got it.
Chair? So I want to seek against or abstention.
I shall seek against. And any abstentions?
I'm on highways.
Very wise.
Very wise.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, Ben, well put together.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Next
And
time you
thank
come,
you
next
for
time you
the
come with
child
anything, just make it 50 pages long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's third time lucky then, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah, it's been, it's difficult, I mean, not for me to get, yeah, if we get the nurses sorted out, that are closed, then I'll be sorted.
I'll give you a call next week, and we'll get
Can we take a co-opted member?
Thank you.
Okay, so we need to move on a little bit, or else some wary of
Yeah.
time. We've got quite a lot on the agenda to get through with the grants tonight, so we're reviewing the year-to-date financial position for the community plan committee.
Which is page 45.
Which you should all have had a copy beforehand. Is there any questions that you would like to put to Jackie over the financial plan? Can we take a vote that that's correct? And
Okay, yeah.
Nan's proposing, Dawn's seconding, are we all in favour? Okay, so now we move on to the grant section to sort of consider the matters relating to grant applications received from community organisations and charities. You've already had copies of stuff. We also put out, Jackie had also put a lot of work into this, and she's also put out an email asking whether there was any feedback on these.
So just to, the first two that we're looking at, the connections and hope for more, were presented to committee at the September community plan meeting. Thank you, Ben. They were presented to committee at the community plan meeting, and the decision was deferred subject to me gaining a little bit more information, which is listed here. So I went back to the applicants and I explained that the committee had asked for more information, and I explained that I would cut and paste their answers so that committee could consider. So really, for this purpose, the first 2 pages, or the first page on the grant application summary, November 22, are the things that you should be looking at, which tells you the questions I asked and tells you their responses. So the first one is connections.
Yeah. So you've all had this in previous times. Was there any questions coming from the coming back to committee? Councillor Clark.
One of the issues that we had was proof that they were actually delivering to people with approved town council area. It states that we put in a map. I can't seem to find a map.
No, I attached a boundary map for them, so that when they gave us their answers,
And they
it was
haven't given us the
it was
answers.
relevant to the boundary map.
So we still haven't got the data there, which states how many of their clients are actually within approved town boundary area.
On the different, so I can give it to you. It's the first one. Yeah, that- just 47, something like that.
Page 47.
The questions that are printed in bold print are the questions that I asked them directly. I made them aware that the answers would be cut and pasted and presented to you as additional information. So I would suggest that if the information isn't here, decision needs to be made really tonight that we either agree to fund it or decline it.
Councillor Vallis.
It's not a question really, it's perhaps a little bit of knowledge about the group. I do work with the homeless, I catch people on the street more or less, get them to the outreach team and we get them into supported accommodation. From there they need help, especially if they are of a certain age, maybe in the 30s, and they've got addictions that they have covered up a lot of the mental illnesses throughout their lives. So they do need a lot of help. There isn't the support in the group that we send them to overcome any addiction. They have to go to CGL, that's changed where they've to get some sort of help, to get any medication that they might need to help them with this addiction. And it's really hard because everybody around them, everybody that they meet and know is addicted. That they can't get out of this circle really. So for anybody to want to go into recovery, it's a big thing, and I've been there several times. I've known these people from when they first came as presented as homeless on the streets. So it's as if they help 15 people a week. I can say, Councillor Clark, that quite a few of those people I know anyway. I know from the Crewe area, so I do know that they are from Crewe. Cheshire East will not help anybody. We will not be able to get anybody into supported accommodation if they're not from Cheshire East anyway. We pay the train fare for them to get back home. So it's not like we're funding people now. But I've seen the good that they've done. I've seen people in a shaking condition, people at the end of their tether, and I've seen the support that these two ladies give. And I really think that we need more of this. We need more activities for people. Nobody wants to see people on the square sitting there, and however much we can push, we've got to make it somewhere where they want to go, and somewhere like this at Bedford Street is a fantastic venue for them, and I'm really pleased that they are going, that they're keeping going, that they're now getting support because they weren't getting support before. So yeah, I recommend this to everybody. If you see somebody on the streets, you know there are places where they can get help.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. So we need to know now, are members going to back this grant or not?
Yes,
So-
Jay, what you're seeking now is a clear proposal from a member, either to support the grant and award the grant or to decline the grant.
I will definitely support that grant.
Tell me, I can't find the papers, what's the breakdown down what we're asking for?
Oh, yes, I have.
Page 52.
They are asking for 1,509.
I found it on email, what's the big number that?
1595.
Yeah, I don't know this group, unlike Council Parish, but to me, £900 of training. I'm not certain about.
So have we got a seconder?
A second.
Martin.
Okay, so that's approved.
All in favour, please? I'll put my hand up.
So just to be clear, we are approving £1,595 awarded to Connections.
Those against? Any abstentions? We've not carried it. It's failed, isn't
And the grant is carried on substantive vote, 3 in favour and 2 against.
it? 3 against, 2 against. Clark?
Can I just say that, I think you need to think carefully about what people are asking for and what the benefits of what they're asking for will be.
I'd like to know more about the training.
Yeah.
training, who's the training, who provides it. and how
So-
it's taught.
Can I suggest that we suggest as a proposal to Jackie that in the future for grants that if you're more precise on the training side of things.
It does tell you that the training's for it, it's just the type of training I don't really feel is, it could be used to better.
Was that one of the questions that was asked at the last committee?
No, it wasn't.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
resolution,
move on.
Sharon.
Yeah, I
We've
can move
got
on,
to
yeah.
move on, but I think that, you know,
Um, hope for more is the other one which came up at the last, and we asked questions.
so again, that application was deferred, subject to more information, exactly the same format. I went back to the applicant and asked for details and
Question about something about the iPads, I believe that was right. What happened to them when they-
yeah, so
right?
they wrote into the
Councillor
constitution.
Rhodes,
I'd like to propose refusal. I don't think, if they can't tell me how many school refusals there are, then I don't know how useful this is gonna be. So I would like to propose refusal.
have we got a seconder for the refusal?
Okay.
Those in favour to
In
decline
favour of
it?
refusal.
Refusal.
So it's declined.
Am I want to speak against and abstentions, Chair?
And abstentions?
Okay, I didn't see a show from councillor Wong.
Sorry, though,
I didn't see a show. Were you
I
in
was-
favour
I was in favour,
of awarding, sorry, or
yes,
declining?
of awarding.
Okay, we have one against. Just,
So it's declined.
okay, the grant is declined.
Yeah, so moving on to the first grant application of this committee, so there are 9 grant applications in total, and the first one is from Crew Men in Sheds. Are asking for £2,500 for laptops, a lathe, and some equipment really, materials and equipment.
Like Men in Sheds personally,
Everyone works.
and they've done quite a lot for the town council recently, in producing items. Councillor Clark.
I'm just wondering whether Men and Shed want to actually revise their request, because I've noticed on their Facebook pages and everything, they are getting a lot of contribution towards wood, screws, nails, spares for machinery, etc. for the project. You know, I can see that they won't get the offer of a laptop or a working lathe, but they seem to be mobilised themselves, and they're getting a lot of support for materials.
Councillor Rhodes.
I was just asking, just curiosity really. This word laptop necessary to work the lathe, is that why they need a laptop?
I'm not sure on that, Dennis.
Sorry, say that again.
Is the laptop used to control the lathe?
No,
It's not that sophisticated.
It's not CNC.
no, we've still got the
Councillor,
thing outside going like
Councillor Faddis. Question.
Thank you, Chair. Very much like councillor Clark, I'm very much in favour of recycling. So if people have got tools and equipment to get them, yeah,
And they seem to be being very well supported
Yes.
from what I see on lots of merchants that come forward, etc.
So would it be right to propose, they've got £5,000 a year per annum listed from Age UK, 5,000.
No, they,
That's what they used to get
That's
from
what they
Oh, I
used
ages
to get.
ago.
see.
so they're now separate from HUK and they've formed as a
Oh.
community group and living in their separate ways.
But where does that 2,500 equate? The balance is just, we're gonna spend it on nails and,
They're going to spend it on a laptop and a
Not quite.
lathe,
okay.
wood screws and nails, so.
if I may, Chair, I don't want to speak on this, but what's going on at the moment is we have one guy he's had a stroke and he's fantastic. He literally goes everywhere he can. If he thinks someone's going to give him £1, he'll go around and knock on the door. And he's been to all the factories in and around Crewe, and that's how we ended up getting these screws. We thought they were going to give us maybe, honestly, we thought they were going to give us maybe a couple of boxes. When they turned up, they had to use a forklift to get them off. We didn't have we've got nowhere at the back now to put anything else because that's the firm. I think it was going out of business and they just give us the lot, which is fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not just screws, they've had pallets from
Okay.
Travis and Perkins and all sorts.
It seems to me that
It
members
seems
are.
to me members are beginning to say the bit with where it says wood, screws, nails, glues, spares, etc. wouldn't be funded.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that maybe the laptop and the woodworking lathe could be funded. Would that be fair
That's
for a
my
proposal?
proposal.
Okay,
So
£1,632
thank you.
is a proposal for awarding a grant.
okay, so it's a second.
And we've got a seconder,
Yes,
and all in favour? Thank you, committee.
With an
Any
abstention.
abstention?
Dennis? There we go.
Okay. Okay, so-
Cornwall children.
So comments from councillor Clark on this application were that there was no evidence of Crewe families, only assumptions based on statistics. They also have quite a large bank balance, so they are requesting £1,278.51. And they are sensory packs.
So can I just
Yes,
clarify,
go.
we are only buying the sensory packs, aren't we? We're not paying anything for the training.
No, just the sensory packs and the delivery, which is £1,278.51. The training they're funding themselves. All the staff costs. I've also got quotes from them to back that up. As an agenda, it just makes it too big, but I have got them here.
Uh, 40 families in CW2 postcode area. Who contacted.
So it was 44,
Yeah.
44 children plus their families that would benefit within the CW1 and CW2 area. And again, I sent them a map out and asked them to define how many children were within the boundary, because they originally asked for all across just Crewe. So I asked them to define it. So they have seen a map and that's what they've identified. So,
I mean, I'm happy to propose that we accept that because
Yeah.
we're benefited from it.
Where are they? Well, if you look at the phone, it says Kill Science and Laboratory.
yeah, I think that's where the head office is, but they're, yeah, I don't know, Dennis, is the answer to that. I don't think they're necessarily based directly in Crewe, but they are supplying families within Crewe with these sensory packs, so
It's the autism service.
autism, yeah, through the autism service.
I think we've got a proposal anyway from Councillor Rhodes, so I need a seconder. And none is seconded. As all in favour? Anybody against? No?
No, it's
No
unanimous, Chair.
abstention?
So this application is from Ruskin Park, and they are asking for 100% of the cost really, £2,000. I have been back to them because I felt that their information was quite sparse, and I talked it all through with Ben Minshall, and he felt the same. So I went back to them requesting some more information, just to back it up, and they haven't responded. So I've asked, can you provide evidence of volunteers?
Clark,
I would look to this, I would advise the committee, there's inadequate information here to progress this
Yeah.
application, it should be declined. If they wish to resubmit, then they can provide more information at that stage.
we've got a proposer for that, please. Martin, Dawn, second it. All in favour of that?
Basically, I would support the football club, but we need to know
More. I went back and
Yeah,
this
I totally agree with
information is a result of me asking for more information, and then going back again and then not coming back with it. I was asking for evidence of things and I haven't heard back from them. I also asked how many people £800 would train, and no response, so.
I've done everything you can.
I think the cause is obviously very supportive, but unfortunately information you haven't got, so you don't.
Okay. The next application is the Stroke Survivors Group. The overall cost is £2,133 and they're requesting £1,319. There's a breakdown here, so. We all know what the Stroke Survivors Group do.
Me, it's just a basis that they'd actually turned around and said that only 80% of their club is crew town. So,
Yeah, we commented on that.
so should we only fund 80% of it, because only 80% of the residents are crew. So,
Yeah, councillor Rhodes.
I don't think that we really ever pay room hire. I don't think we've ever paid room hire. It does, and I think I remember reading, they do collect a nominal fee, so they could pay their own room hire.
They pay, they
£2
collect
a week.
£2 a week.
They could pay their own room hire.
They do often have more than 11 people turn up, so.
So I'm thinking that might get somewhere where councillor Clark was talking about the 80% sort of thing. If we suggest that we probably drop the room higher.
That would be a grant of £505. I've got that out, my scribbles
it
are
doesn't
right.
actually add up properly, does it? 1,819. If we actually add that up, it's a lot more than 1,300.
I think.
It's shy.
I think what I've stopped
not
with,
doing it.
with so many applications, what I've stopped doing is going back and saying, I'm taking the applications now as they are presented, you know, and if they can't fill in the application with all the details, it's
Clark,
I would suggest if you don't fund the room hire has been expressed, which is £814, that brings you out at £1,323 total value, whereas they're only asking for 1,319.
I think they've just put it down wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, the column of figures
Yeah.
that ends in 1319 is actually adds up to the first column,
The 2 1,
2133.
I think they've just got
So
confused, yeah.
the numbers add up to the wrong columns, but they do add
Okay.
up somewhere.
So they weren't expecting to get
So,
paid room hire, eh?
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
if you, that's 1319 with room hire and a tiny bit taken off, and if you want then to portion that to 8%, that's up to you for yourselves to propose.
So 80% of 13.
No, that proposal hasn't been made, I'm
Okay,
just
sorry.
counting.
councillor Faddis.
Yeah, I think if we start offering room hire, everybody's going to be asking.
Yeah,
And
I
I do
agree with
support
That's a
that,
good point.
So the proposal will be councillor Rhodes.
Can I change my proposal? Or not? I amend my proposal,
Yes.
that we give them £1,000.
Okay.
Street
Second,
Yep.
and all in favour?
So, £1,000 is a one.
Anybody against?
It's not quite.
Abstentions?
No.
It's not quite.
Okay, so stroke survivors are awarded £1,000, just to be clear for the minutes, okay? So, Nantwich Road Action Group are the next one. They are looking at buying lots of Christmas trees, pre-lit Christmas trees that would be placed along Nantwich Road. Blitz have been asked to, if they get funded, install them and remove them after Christmas. The property owners would be providing the power and the cost of the power. At the moment, all the permissions to install the trees are verbal, but before the trees would be fitted, we'd make that into a written permission, so there's no comeback. They are asking for £2,000. Pre-lit Christmas trees, £1,750, and installation, £250.
Councillor Fellis.
Did we have this request before? I seem to recall it.
Maybe it's maybe
From-
before my time, I don't remember, but
From the same group, all that I can remember is the bin installations.
Yeah, that wasn't a
Yeah.
grant, that was a different committee.
yeah,
Was it?
yeah.
They sought an installation of more bins on Nantwich Road from operations improvements
Right, okay,
nearly 12 months ago. That wasn't their product, that's the product of Street Village.
yeah.
So they now have a constitution, they now have a bank account.
Have you signed it? Because the big copy.
Yeah,
is
I got them to
approved,
sign it,
right.
yeah, I got them to sign it, it's all done, and the bank account, I've had sight of that as well, there's nothing in it, but they've now gone through the formal channel, because last time they applied, they weren't constituted and didn't have an account, so they are now.
I'm just wondering who used to pay for the Christmas trees before the Nantwich Road Action Group
Yeah, I don't know.
started, because there've always been
The
trees.
Phillips, yeah.
I would have thought it would have been someone like the Chambers of Commerce, wouldn't it? Which I'm not sure exists. Jill, can you
I
enlighten
can
us?
tell you, it used to be the individual shopkeepers, treasuries,
Oh,
used to go around and ask individual shopkeepers. John Pass
Yeah.
still has 2 or 3 trees out, but I think he's the only one
Yeah,
that still does it. But
Times are tough.
treasuries used to organise it, the shopkeepers used to pay.
I guess times are tough and now they're.
Well, the what's on Nantwich Road has changed drastically from what it was.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's quite a straightforward one, really, don't you? Should we just take a vote on it?
Need a proposal.
Need a proposal. Nan's back in the proposal
The
to
proposal.
install some Christmas trees on
I'll
Nantwich
second.
Road. Second that. Anybody in favour? All those in favour?
Oh, yeah.
And those against? And any abstentions?
That's carried 4-2, Chair.
Carried.
Yes, so approved, 2,000, okay. So application is from Vision Group. I think some of these are. Next one is from Vision, it's really hard to say, it's a weird way of saying it.
Vision.
Yeah, and they are asking for £2,500 against a total cost of 21,375. They've kind of made it add up again, the numbers are incorrect. I've been back to them and asked for some clarity around the figures. One sec. And I said, the total project cost is showing as 15,875, and you've indicated that you've already secured funding of 5.5 from CCG gap funding. You've requested £2,500 from us. How will the difference figure be funded? We will continue to identify and apply for funding from various trusts and foundations, both unrestricted and project-based, and also encourage fundraising activity amongst our supporters to grow our unrestricted income to raise the remaining 13,375 for this area.
And they go on to say how many people within the Crewe boundary will benefit from the project, approximately 200. Does anybody want to ask any questions on this?
Well, they have a balance of £178,000. Right, so I'm just wondering why the actual, seeking the funding where, that balance is grants anyway, because that's where they get most of their.
So
And from commission services, etc., which this I would have thought is a.
So the bank
very
account
similar to
statement
commission services.
that I shared was blanked out. Did you see, where have you seen the balance from? Because it's, the one that I have is completely blank, it just
With
proves the.
The annual accounts,
I don't,
with the annual accounts.
of course, yeah, that's where they would come from, sorry.
Yeah.
But this funding is to expand operations, I think.
Yeah, but they've got operational budget is what I'm saying, they've got 178,000, and to me, our funding should be for those groups who are on the, on the bare,
They describe it as well-being team support, so it's.
Yeah, so to me, if we're funding something, it should be organisations who can't get it from anywhere else, and if they've got that sort of money and funding. And also the fact that we'll be giving money to something which they haven't secured the full amount for anyway, so we could be giving money for them to sit in their bank account waiting for them to get the rest of the funding anyway.
Okay,
I'll
thank
ask
you,
many
councillor
kids to
Clark.
send in a bit of peg in there.
Dennis, councillor Rhodes, sorry.
If you look at the bottom, the council has supported this group of the plans in 2018 and 2020. But I just would like some kind of more detail about, what we're actually going to use the 2,500 for. It's all right putting these big headings, but.
Yeah, one-to-one practical strategies session, safeguarding, our vision group, planning and promotion of activities, wellbeing teams.
I
supervision,
would prefer if we're going to fund one or two particular activities that we know are going to be for, a particular group of children or young people or whatever, rather than these big grand headings.
Councillor Fallis.
Do we know if they're going to keep asking for this sort of money every couple of years?
No, but I guess the answer to that would be yes, we don't
Yes,
know, but
Yeah,
yeah,
because it'll be a good, their grant funding officer is doing it globally to everybody
absolutely.
out there, that's what she's employed
Would
to
you,
do.
Clark?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Whilst I, from other things I do, recognise the value and the sustainability of vision, I would suggest maybe for this committee there is insufficient match funding to put a sustainable grant approval together, just as Councillor Clark pointed out, and that significant portions of this are so heavily revenue based that they don't demonstrate sustainability at this point, and maybe a resubmission at a later date might be more appropriate when they have more detailed support funding and aspects they specifically might think this committee would be minded to support.
So we're not deferring it, but
I would suggest deferring it is very unwise generally anyway, but it's, that's what I'm suggesting from what I've heard, but that could be wrong.
Would somebody like to propose what Clark's just sort
I'm not
of
sure.
together?
Put words in that.
No, to decline the
To
application.
decline the application.
So Dennis,
So Dennis decline.
second.
And they're all in favour? Any
That's unanimous,
against?
that's unanimous, Chair.
The next one, I can't say it properly, the does anyone know how to pronounce it? The Malay Association. They submitted an application at the meeting in September that was declined. They asked us why it had been declined, and we went back and said that the committee were having to make tough decisions at the moment. It was declined because they were asking for, one of the reasons they were asking for 100% of the application, and also because they were asking for sound equipment. We wanted something in their constitution that said that if the group failed, that it would go back into the community. So they have reduced the amount they're asking for, pop that in their constitution, and they are asking the committee to reconsider. So that's where we're at with that one.
So it sounds
Dawn, Dawn, you had a comment on that one, didn't you? You wrote to me about it. You felt it was a large payout for 4 annual events with no evidence of building wider community involvement. That was your comment at the time.
Yeah, you can't see that there, you know, it's for their culture, but then I would hope that they would seek to use it to actually engage in the wider community, to engage with their culture, but I can't see evidence of that.
Anybody else know any more about the Malayan? Or want to say anything else about the Malayan Association in group?
Jill?
I don't know anything about them, but I'm quite happy to propose we decline it.
We're happy to propose that we decline it then. Is there a seconder? All in favour? Those against? Abstention? Against one. I'd like to actually just propose to committee that although I'm vice chair, it might be a good idea, an invitation from the Malayan Association to actually see what work they would be doing if they do actually come with another application. Or the mayor even.
Yeah.
Go and find out what's going on there. Thanks very much.
I thought you'd been invited there at some point.
It's just one of those sort of things where we need to try and perhaps ourselves connect with the community of which they're putting in there.
Okay, so the next application is the Haven on North Street, which is a project of the Cheshire South Methodist Church. They are looking for £2,500, a facilitator for craft activities, and a scan and cut machine. I spoke to the applicant today to find out whether or not the Sainsbury's Family Charitable Trust had been funded, and she's just heard today that they've been declined. So that's just additional information for you. John, you had some comments on this one, didn't you?
Councillor Clark. Round the
Yeah, it was
facilitator.
more around the sort of, they were already running the group. And it didn't seem as though they were actually going to be using the fund. I would want to see more evidence that they were actually going to be increasing their numbers, given the grant, that it wasn't just sustaining.
I asked them, I was a bit concerned about the sustainability of it, and I went back to them and asked them about it. And they said there is currently a provisional line item in our budget to fundraise for this post next year, but this is purely dependent on us being able to increase our income through trading methods and the ongoing cost of living issues, especially utilities, which have caused a significant increase in cost this year due to a 325% increase.
Because if you go through the accounts that they submitted, which was actually the circuits account,
Yeah,
but you go through it is something like the income was 32.5,
yeah,
and the expenditure was 31. So they were really on their, you know, of making a profit. Like say 300% increase in their energy costs means their profit's been wiped out. So it's, yeah, sustainability.
yeah. I think they were just concerned that if they were asking us for a facilitator, what would they do next year if they couldn't get funding? It was quite a lot of money. So,
Can we get a vote on this one? Are we going to back this grant or are we not going to back this grant? A proposer that
We have,
more.
have I not read the papers? Is there any idea about how many people attend? Have I not read the papers? I must say that over the years, this organisation
15 people per week.
has had a considerable amount of money from the town council.
Yeah.
we currently support 15 people per week with our craft sessions and look to increase this with the provision of a paid facilitator to increase this to 30 people per session.
Grants.
bottom.
I suppose it's targeting the families as in the cost of,
Quite a while ago, it's
you know,
not
warm
just
space.
So it was quite a while ago they last met.
It's before the 2 year.
It's Tuesday morning, I've been, I wondered how they could fit 30 people
Yeah.
in that room,
Yeah.
to be honest. I feel like we're
That'd be warm.
You're taking it in turns to breathe, isn't it?
It's getting a bit like that, it's getting a bit like this, that in here at the
I
moment.
know it's.
So can we get a vote on it? Are we declining this?
I move with decline.
Dennis is moving to decline. Is there a seconder to decline? Councillor Holbrook, seconder.
Okay, I don't think so.
All those in favour?
This in favour of decline.
Yeah.
Just want to.
Yeah, okay.
And those against? Abstentions?
Okay. The next application is for Crew Youth Club on the Miriam Street Centre. I think it's the club, isn't it? So this is obviously they're applying for lots of capital funding everywhere, and they're asking us for £2,500. Dawn, you had comments on this one as well, didn't you?
So which I couldn't actually put down in
But you
my
are part of
words,
the
yeah.
grants advisory group, so you would expect that.
Yeah, well, no, it's capital funding, so, yeah.
Okay,
And they're building up a pot and who knows whether they'll get the pot or not, so. And it's not, yes, it will benefit the community, but it, should be good more through town borders.
quite a lot of secured funding already from them, £830,000 secured.
And they only want 694.
They only want 694, so that makes no sense.
So you propose to decline it, are you, Dawn?
Jill.
Jill, sorry,
Can I
councillor
just
Rhodes.
say that I actually do support this project, this food, but
Yeah,
I would prefer them to come to us for actual things they're gonna use.
Yeah.
For the young people.
Yeah.
And I would, quite happily support that.
So how?
can you minute that, Jackie, and make sure it gets back to them?
Oh.
Come back to it when you've got it built.
Yeah, come back to us when you.
And you want some football.
To provide actual things.
Councillor Wall.
Yeah, with me living very close to that, I know how useful that youth club has been.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people I know around the area that know personally that really want it back again. So I'd hate it to go completely.
I think they're applying for so much funding, Nan, that now 2,500
Very
is so that we could
Yes.
kind of complement what they do with that 2,500 rather than be part of
Oh,
the
fair
capital
enough, but I
funding.
just hope that it will keep
So-
going,
So we decline it.
Just for
already.
the minutes, can I just be clear what we're doing? So are we declining, and I'll let them know why?
You have one proposal, no seconders yet.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
Thank
second.
Okay, so.
Councillor Rhodes, second. All in favour to decline?
Against?
Against? Abstentions? I would be worried that we're actually sending a signal out to them that town council is not backing their project.
It's not, we're not backing the project, we're not backing it in the way that we want on.
To me, our community grant isn't for capital funding,
That's good.
and that's.
Yeah, and that's all Jackie needs to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll invite them to come back to us when they're nearer
But
completion.
I think it needs to be made clearer in our applications for.
Well, and then we'll come on to
criteria.
it.
That, you know,
Yeah, we'll come on, they're all
don't
being
happen, so-
rewritten at the moment, next on the agenda.
Okay.
When they need some chairs to sit on, we're supporting.
Yeah.
We've got quite a long item on this one as well, so we'll move on to the agenda item number 8. To
So,
consider the unallocated budget of the committee's response to.
What we'd already done, Chair.
On full
What we'd already done,
Well,
No,
it was only the presentation from
that was just Joe.
Cheshire East Council support.
So,
Councillor.
back in September time, just before the last committee meeting, I went out, well, I didn't go out, I invited the community groups, key community groups to join us, and they came here. And it was useful. It was the first time we'd all sat down in a room together. And we were looking at potentially creating an environment of the unallocated budget to support them through the winter and the fuel crisis that is happening. Jill and the committee felt that they would like something a bit more tangible and in writing about what their plans are. So the plans were submitted, and you'll see this on your agenda, page 119 onwards. And they all submitted to me and talked me through their proposals of how they see that they can help their customers. They all feel really strongly that they don't just want to create a warm space. They feel the dignity thing is really important. They want lots of different, they've all come up with different ideas, but the theme is the same. They're looking to feed people, they're looking to build on existing service, they're looking to keep people warm, maintain dignity. And what they've unanimously said to me is that they're really quite concerned. So they've got all the groups and all the staff and volunteers are working much harder. They can't give them pay rises. They can't put prices up for cups of tea and coffee because people just can't pay it. And they're asking lots more of their staff and volunteers. One group said that one of their volunteers had really good volunteers has had to step back because she's now going to provide childcare for her grandchildren so that her daughter can do more hours. So stuff like that is real. So they're just bolting on and they're just trying to support as many people as they possibly can. So all the details are here. I invited Joe Cosby along because obviously we were trying to make sure that we didn't have a crossover, and you heard what Joe said. So that was Dennis why Joe came. Joe, I've actually got the presentation that Joe did as well on my laptop, so I'm happy to forward that on to anyone who would like it. So yeah, the proposals are in front of you. Just to make you aware, we have just over £20,000 of unallocated budget across 4 different areas. Sustaining network, we have £2,600 unallocated. Community commissioning, we have £1,443.75. Health and wellbeing, we have £6,500, and social isolation, we have £9,500. So £20,043.75 is unallocated, less what we just awarded Ben. So say £2,500 off that sum is our the idling project, sorry, not Ben, Council Wine, the idling project. That is the unallocated funding that we have to last us until the end of the financial year. So just so you can bear that in mind when you start looking at the figures. Okay. Do we want to go through each one, or do we want to, how do you want to do, any questions on any of the applications?
How many applications in total are there?
So there were five groups that are detailed on here. There was Motherwell, St Andrews, Wisham Wells, St Paul's Centre, and what was the other one? Chance Changing Lives. So St Paul's are looking at running a community kitchen, just to summarise really quickly to save you reading it all, in conjunction with Beechwood, and their plan is to cook and prepare meals in their kitchen, so it's not microwave ice or supermarket Iceland style, microwave dinners. Package them all up, and then the children and the families could come after school and pick them up for free. And they're working in conjunction with Beechwood School, who would identify the children that were most in need. It's not only available to people who are on free school meals, it's identified by Beechwood. That's my understanding of that one. I'll just flick through them all and then you can see. So he's put a total cost there of £8,212. Now what I've said to people is that I'm trying to manage expectations, and what I've said to each application is that we're going to try and do what we can, but some may be funded, some may be partially funded, some may be declined. It wasn't a, you get, all of you get it, it's on each application. If, obviously the committee can decide to split some money between them all, but the
Point of technicality and consideration, you will now, if you take any of these projects forward, all these projects part of project, it will either have to directly relate to a budget line, or if it's not, then it's environment, and environments are required ratification of council.
No, you're gonna have to explain that.
You can't allocate budget to another thing than what it was already, than what it was provisionally designed for at the start. And to do that, it's a technical process called violent, we via it to somewhere else. And so that, under the constitution, under the legislations act, you need to take that as a ratification to council.
we'd be creating a winter wellbeing fund and we'd via it.
If you approve a fund out of this of £10,000, that will require council final approval.
Can I ask why they're not equal amounts of costs?
Because they're not identical organisations doing identical things.
Okay.
So that was what St Paul's were doing, Chance Changing Lives. So they have had some slow cookers and there has been some success. Slow cookers are the second most cost effective way to heat food. It's the cost of a light bulb per sort of hour, exactly the same cost. So the idea is that we buy some slow cookers for them, they invite their customers in and they provide them with all the ingredients and they provide them with the know-how, recipe cards, exactly what to do. They pick it up, they take everything they need and the ingredients and everything that they need to make a meal for four, and they take the pot home and plug it in. They're given exact instructions, and that means that not only are they engaging with them, they're teaching them to cook, they're signposting while they're in, there's people constantly talking to them, but a family of four has got a meal, a hot meal for that night that's been cooked cheaply and it's good for them.
Okay, Councillor Harris.
Have we got a breakdown of these groups of where people are coming from? Are they coming from the Crewe area?
Yes, so Chance Changing Lives, obviously they support 160
Are
families.
they coming from the Crewe area?
The based in Crewe, I can't answer, are they all definitely within the?
They have to, don't they, because if they're
No,
signed up to Chance,
no.
but if they're signed up to Chance Supermarket,
Yeah, they
they
have
have to be the CW1 area, don't they?
Yes.
No,
Oh,
Sure.
They used to be.
no, I know that we have people from Sandbach attending the supermarket.
Well, we just have to sort of advise them on,
Yeah.
on those people from Crewe.
To the Beechwood kitchen is Beechwood School, so they're going to be.
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
Well,
So-
they're at St Paul.
Yeah, but it's St Paul's food bank working with Beechwood School.
Yeah, but doing it at St Paul, I'm still on fence.
Yeah, yeah.
Councillor,
They go from Beechwood School and on the way home.
Good luck.
Councillor Edwards.
Sorry.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Do all these projects and all the costs sought, is that less than the unallocated budget? I.e., can we fund all these?
So that, what I've said to them is that I haven't asked them for an amount that they actually want funding for. They're doing these projects anyway, and they want contributions from us. They are not aware of the amount that we have unallocated. Obviously, that's for us to decide.
What does it add up to?
18,000.
Yeah, we've got that.
21,000.
The actual
No,
project.
because they're not, so the total project cost for St Paul's, say, is 8,000. The total project cost for Chance is 1,500 or something, I've not seen.
So then,
£2,000 is it, yeah?
Yeah, sorry, 2,000.
can I suggest then that we just share the unallocated cost budget between the five? So that would be 4,000
I
each.
think that's where I was coming from before, wasn't I, Councillor
Right.
Edwards? But
Can I-
because I think Clark explained that because they're different projects, there's different funding needed for each amount of projects.
Plus 4,000 of course is twice as much as Chance Changing Lives he's looking for anyway, so sorry that wouldn't work.
Sorry, Councillor Clark.
Because of the figures that Jackie gave out before, that the balance that we've got left the what we've already approved for the idling scheme, means there's only about 17,000
Yeah.
left, isn't there?
So this.
So if we give 80% of the contribution to these projects, that comes out at 16,350. So that would be my proposal, is that we give 80% of contribution to these organisations.
Some of them haven't requested a full amount though, Dawn, so we'd have to.
Well, 80% of what you've got listed down here is what I'm looking at, which
Okay.
comes to 16,350.
Okay.
Councillor Rhodes.
I think that I personally don't want to fund all the amount of central, because I think there's things in there that as town council we shouldn't be paying for. Like monetary fees. So I wouldn't support, just dividing it between them on an 80% basis, because I think some people have been very asked for specific things like, cook pots or whatever. And other people have just put everything that they're going to spend on the project, in the hopes that they're going to get some funding, and I understand that, they need the funding. So I think that we should think carefully and look at what's being requested.
So we're going to go through every individual
Well, my main issue is around, so I've got two issues. The Motherwell project, I'm not quite sure where the sewing machine fits in.
That's Wishing Well.
Wishing Well, sorry, I'm not quite sure where the
So-
sewing machine fits
I
in.
can answer that.
And we did recently refuse the sewing machine thing. And the other one is the additional cost that we've got related to St Paul's, which I think, I could have a conversation with Jackie about that. I just think there's things in there that are not just providing heat and food.
Okay, so just to clear up the Wishing Well, they a couple of years ago had lots of sewing machines gifted from Cheshire East that have sat in a cupboard. So they have they're having them all serviced and obviously checked. They've got one facilitator who knows what she's doing in terms of sewing. They are looking for volunteers and they've got a volunteer ready to stand by. They are encouraging people to come in with old curtains that they might need to alter. They're making draft excluders. They are then giving those out to the community, but they're all being made for free. They're encouraging donations of coats. If somebody needs a bigger coat or a smaller coat, any alterations at all, rather than go and buy curtains to keep warm, front door curtains and whatever. So their idea is just to engage people with learning a new skill. Whilst they're there, they'll get soup and a cup of tea and signposting, and they're warm for a couple of hours in a dignified way. So that is their project, which I personally
The one I'm reading
Mhm.
had a facilitator coming from Manchester.
So that person will be coming in to teach them.
And we've got no one in crew that can teach.
I guess not, I don't know, I can
Yes,
ask.
we have got, do we
Yeah.
used to have sewing factories full of ladies in this?
I think you'd think so.
We've got loads of repair shops all around the.
Exactly.
Across the way, from Barnsley, like I said.
I guess they're,
Because if it's
No.
not, does it matter where they're from? If they can
For me, it
help.
does, yeah.
Well, if they can help, does it matter? Well, all we need is help, doesn't it?
Now, how
They're
many
being
ladies do you
paid.
know?
They're being paid now, they're not.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Volunteers.
That's what I was
How many
asking.
ladies do you know used to be in the sewing factories?
but I suppose it's identifying someone who'll come and do it for free, who lives in Crewe.
No,
um,
not.
We're not asking them to do it for free.
Just employ locally.
Okay.
My chair, can I,
Yeah.
on these sorts of points, if they became conditions, I'm sure members could advise outside of the meeting of where those people might be found. And that could be achieved. But in terms of the principle of this and the strategic level the committee works at on operational, it might be worth seeking whether members are minded to move this forward and what format that is, or if not, if it's not to members' taste, that's okay, I'm not trying to make a decision for you. But whilst the pivotal points and sourcing local skills is only a positive thing, it's perhaps something we can resolve in the office rather than the committee.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so are we having a proposal which was brought about from councillor Clark first of all? No,
So could I suggest that we allocate a sum of money to VIA, and then Jill and I, and Pete, of course, can discuss the best use of that money and where it might go. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, and that would, should then, to be fair, be in consultation with the rest of the committees. We should be pre-informed at that point, just so
Okay.
members know where the money's going at.
So I don't have to wait to the next.
No, because
meeting.
it's not serviceable for the winter
No,
principle,
They're already cold, but aren't
but
we?
any detailing can be shared with the committee. once.
Okay, so can
Yeah,
we
I-
discuss an amount of money that we're prepared to buy
That'll be with the chair. to
I'm
decide.
sorry.
so can we, as a committee, discuss the amount of money which we're prepared to put to this project? Are we going to go with the full amount of £18, whatever?
We haven't got 18,000.
No, it's
17, so it's going to be 20, whatever that figure was, less whatever Ben Wise project comes out at. So we've got 20,04375 less, it was 22, say 2.5 tops, it won't be that much, but so we're looking at about £17,500 of unallocated budget in the community plan. So
Dennis,
Dawn said 80% was about 16,000. So I propose 16,000.
16,350 was the previously mentioned.
I take councillor Rowan's point though, that some of the projects possibly we need to go and say, well, actually, if it was a grant fund, we wouldn't fund that, so we need to take that out and then go to the balance, so.
it's not grant, no, is it? It's
I know,
we
no,
existed
if it
projects.
was,
Yeah,
then we wouldn't fund it, so why should we, if it's,
okay.
you know.
So if I,
propose that we put 16,000 in.
Yeah.
And then the committee who sort it out for.
I'll go back out and speak to them, identify the areas of concern, and then we will decide amongst us. Sorry,
It might well be delegated to the chair in consultation with the committee, and the officers will support.
That's what I thought I said.
So identical to what you said, Des. I apologise for stealing your words.
Don't you worry about it.
councillor.
And also, there's no risk of these projects not going ahead
no.
without us, right?
Indeed.
So we can also give this money after the period that these operations are
Or
taking
indeed in
place.
stages, you know, we could do 2 stages, one now and one after Christmas.
Councillor Dunlop.
Could someone just clarify for me? I mean, I'm totally agree with what we're doing, but didn't you say people have got to go to full council?
It needs a ratification, as you often see on the council agenda, it will say recommendations from committees, and council's just asked to ratify that.
So therefore, what we need, if I'm correct, is we need a proposal, this goes to the full council for ratification, and then all of the other bits and pieces will come together.
But by then, I will work in consultation with the chair, the clerk and Jill, to make sure that the questions that we've identified tonight are asked and that we're comfortable with the level of funding that we're going to offer.
My only concern was that full council's on the 7th of December, 6th of December, so
Yeah.
it's not very far away.
No, we need to get
So
it
we have
sorted by then.
You have plenty.
It's a priority, isn't it?
I think we've got time because Jackie has been working on it in previous.
I'll go out to
Couple
the
of
groups
months
next
to
week
the
and
groups
pay a
already.
personal visit and
Yeah.
see what's going on.
So we've got a proposal that we go
I'll
down those
second
lines.
Dennis's proposal.
So
Okay.
Well, no, sorry, I was just
Go on,
going to ask, can we have a
Councillor Walton.
recommendation to put towards the town council?
yeah, so we're going to,
Is that what it was? Sorry.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
okay. So
So
we'll-
I've got a second, I've got a proposer and a seconder, and they're all in favour that we back this project to go forward.
all in favour.
All in favour,
Unanimous, chair.
unanimous. And now
So for the-
councillor Walton that we take it to full council for ratification.
You have to do that doesn't need votes on that
So
side.
for the purposes of the minutes, we are allocating £16,000 out of the unallocated budget headings in the community plan committee.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Okay, so I've just done an update just on all the things I've been doing. There's a lot and some feedback also from various groups. Obviously I've spent a lot of my time planning and delivering the Remembrance Sunday services, so that's been lots and lots of officer hours, ably sorted by the support officer Leanne. So really just an update for you all to read at your own leisure of exactly what I've been up to. There's a picture of you in there now.
Awesome.
Yeah. In Wishaw, there you are, playing tennis with Wishaw.
Oh, yeah. You ever played tennis with a tennis man with that?
No. So, really just to have members noted all the things and just move on to that one.
Yeah.
Is there any questions for Jackie over those?
No, so I can say that members have noted.
Members of
Yeah.
noted.
Okay, yeah.
And thank Jackie for all of our work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dawn.
Second that one.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Right. Okay, so I have been, moving on, I have been working closely with the chair, Ben Minshall, to look at the pretty outdated community plan, the grant application process, a lot of the forms that we use. And I've submitted a track change document, which I know is a bit confusing, but Ben and I have been through sentence by sentence, just to try and streamline the process, because there seems to be, it's quite a long form, an application form for grants. I think we've got a chance to put some criteria in, as you, Alan, identified before. It's a bit that people are coming, we've got lots of grant applications coming in. So what I'm looking for from you is, I'd like to know what you definitely don't want to fund. I'd like to know what you feel is important that we should fund. It's anticipated that the grant application process will move to an online submission from April onwards. This is intended to benefit officer time, because I spend so much time going back into, people don't submit all the requested documents. The online submission will be, if the documents are not submitted, you can't submit your application. And columns will have to add up, otherwise it won't allow you to submit it. So just really, I'm looking for clarification on areas that you think we should fund and areas that you think we shouldn't fund. We're also looking at just changing the name from A Vision for Crewe, just being renamed simply Community Plan. Because we're delivering it, it's a community plan. A Vision for Crewe obviously shouldn't just be unique to this committee, it goes across all committees. So community plan, just looking to streamline it, cut out a lot of the additional words, make it a nice simple process. Also to point out that I don't want to exclude anyone, so if anyone isn't capable of submitting an application online, then of course they're more than welcome to come in and I'll do it for them.
Bet you look at me then.
I didn't know. So does anyone have any real, if you look through the stuff that I've crossed out, you'll see where we're at with it. There's a lot to consider, hence that's why I sent it out quite early. Any questions, anybody? I think what I'm looking for is an approval to proceed with it and to carry on with the online application. And just areas that you think we shouldn't be funding. I think it's quite a big question for tonight. I don't know whether that's it's possible for people to come consider it and come back to me. You're snarling at me, so it's probably
This is just my resting face. And frankly, I feel a bit persecuted.
It's looking at me like, I'm just saying that for.
No, I think, if I may, Chair, and for me, Jackie, I think that the aim here is, quite rightly, members spend a lot of time discussing, well, we should fund this and we shouldn't fund capital, we shouldn't fund room hire. So having that written down allows you to save a lot of time because the officers through that process and equally through a process of automatic gating on an online system that can be accessed, will wheedle out those things that shouldn't really be put in front of you to be considered. So writing it down in the policy gives reason for grants not to progress as far as the table. You've had 11 in front of you tonight, I know 9 are new, but that's still a lot to go through. And some of those very clearly wouldn't have passed muster had we had more detailed process. So what Jackie's aiming here to do, I believe, and sorry if I say it wrong, Jackie, is to just add rigour to the process and enhance it in that way. That's what you've been asked to consider.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to one of the applications this evening where they hadn't provided almost any detail at all. I believe it was Ruskin Park. I know in online forms that there tends to be a maximum word count or character count. Is there a minimum we can set?
It's yes.
Yeah, you can set the rules you want to set.
We can set them. However, I mean, I think there'll be teething problems right there initially, and we'll obviously keep going and keep improving. But yeah, it's a good point. It's one worthy of consideration because someone who submits obviously not enough information, then we can't consider it, can we? So that would come before me, and I would look at that and think, right, okay, I now won't submit that to the committee because it doesn't meet the criteria, whereas at the moment I'm tasked with submitting everything. That's what I'm looking to do.
Councillor Rhodes.
Can I suggest that the group that looks at grants puts the list together?
Yes, fabulous, thank you, good suggestion.
If that was a small working group, and then that people would have time to think about it and then come back.
Yeah, great suggestion, I'm happy with that. So
Can we move that? All in favour?
I'll propose that then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And all in favour? Abstention?
The last, thank you. And the last point is just to look at the budget for next year. The committee's draft budget for 23-24. In time for the next meeting, I'll put some meat on the bones for this for you to consider, but it's just amounts for now.
So,
Can I say that that's okay?
any other, you don't want
What we're asking for here, Chair, sorry, is members to check with this budget and as a committee make a recommendation of the committee's budget to the Finance and Governance Committee, which will then make a recommendation to Council of the entire budget.
to write that down for me?
The good news is it's recorded.
Councillor Faris, question.
Yeah, it's just the mayor's allowance, sorry, man. Has it gone up a lot or? Well, I think
What
so,
it's
what
actually
she said.
gone down, what I've done there is I've merged, there were 4 lines and merged lines to rationalise it a little.
We're also
Councillor Clark.
entertainment and things.
I was just wondering what the expenditure in the previous, say, 4 years has been on their allowances.
It's never got to what it was shown us, so it's always been below that, because mayors aren't given allowance, effectively pays expenses on demand. And mayors, even the most active mayors haven't got to the £2,500 expenditure.
So it would pay for tickets, for example, to a charity event that they've been invited to by another mayor. If none were to go, that would pay for that ticket, so to speak, and other little expenses.
So the mayor's allowance, that would come out of civic expenses, would it? So mayor's allowances for them for.
Yeah, but they never use.
Yeah, so if we
We
were
don't
to
get
look-
the money.
A traditional mayor's allowance is paid over at the start of the term.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. It's a fund that's available to mayors to claim back expenses in this instance, which is the most efficient way. It's a positive thing, but it's never hit £2,500.
So if we had to reduce something, we could put that.
Well, in the means of the full set of budget lines that have been compressed, and that has been reduced.
You'll also see that we're just looking at merging. I'm just looking at trying to streamline and simplify things. Maybe simplify is the wrong word, but we had well-being, social isolation, We're just looking now at calling it the Wellbeing Fund, just to make it a little bit clearer for everybody. All these pots of money, just want to make it simple and visible to all.
So can I have a proposer for the budget for next year? Acceptable, go forward to the finance committee. Dawn. Proposer, seconder. Abstain. And all in favour? Thank you.
So,
And then on the last item, is item 12, to note the proposed date of the next meeting on Monday, the 23rd of January, 2023, at 6 o'clock. We'll close the meeting at 19:15. Thanks, everybody.
thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.